Hi, and welcome to another edition of MNI TV. I'm Heather Scott, the MNI Washington Bureau Chief, and with me again is John Shaw, our senior Washington correspondent. And John, we're here again. The fiscal cliff is over. We sort of averted the cliff. So now where we stand, what's next?
Well, we're sort of lurching into another crisis. The debt ceiling needs to be increased probably by the 1st of March. Of course, there's a lot of number crunching as to how long the actual time can be put off, but it seems by March 1st they need to do it. And it's a curious world we're in now, because on the one hand, Republicans have signaled as clearly as they can they're going to use this for leverage in the second phase of the budget debate. They believe that they need to get big spending savings in place to get the country's fiscal position in better health. The president also has said repeatedly that he is not going to negotiate on the debt ceiling, and I think everyone on Capitol Hill is sort of trying to figure out what that actually means, because it's been understood that this was the Republicans' primary leverage, and for the president to say that he's not going to engage on that, it's hard to know where he's coming. There's been thoughts about is there some kind of special powers he might be invoking, or is he just assuming that the business community will put so much pressure on the Republicans not to disrupt the financial markets that they will pressure the Republicans into backing down. So it's unclear how it's going to be coming into focus in the next couple of weeks. Now,
we had a battle over the debt ceiling last year that was very damaging and led to the downgrade of the U.S. sovereign debt rating. That, you would think, had put a lot of pressure already on the Republicans. But that doesn't seem to have happened.
Well, and it's interesting because the moment that passed in 2011, the Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, who is a major player in this, stepped forward and said, I think this is the model on how we ought to do additional debt limit votes. The House Speaker, John Boehner, has said that same template of requiring $1 trillion in spending cuts to get $1 trillion in additional debt ceiling authority, said that that's what he's going to push too. So on the one hand, you have much of the world, a large part of the business community said, let's never go down that route again, and yet the Republican leadership seems to be determined to. But again, I think they believe that that's literally their only leverage here. The tax issue has been to some extent taken off the table, and this is the one thing that they think that they may be able to use to push the Obama administration into making some concessions on entitlement spending that they just don't want to make.
Well, now the Obama administration did say, in the lead up to the fiscal cliff, that they wanted to agree to some spending cuts. But is there any sense that there's some negotiations on that front, or are we just waiting again to the last minute?
I mean, I think the president has signaled that there are some entitlement savings that he can accept, including some ones that maybe the Democratic base doesn't love. Shifting to the chain CPI. He's also indicated that there's some Medicare savings that he could be willing to accept. So, and again, we've had these budget talks going on for so long that there are lots of basically agreed savings that can be used from. But this seems as much a political stalemate as anything else. No one really wants to lead first on this. The president, I think, is feeling very strong after getting reelected and doesn't want to be seen as being sort of shoved into accepting things that he doesn't want to accept. So it's a very curious circling that continues to go on as this debt ceiling deadline approaches, really in a matter of weeks.
And as yet, no real negotiations.
No, and and there's with Congressional, the Congress is really going to be gone for the next couple of weeks. After the inauguration, I think things will start to get into focus. So I think we're looking at sort of the latter part of January and February as being the time of critical negotiations.
Right. Well, the new Congress is in session and in place, obviously, been sworn in. The inauguration is January 21st, and we're looking at about a February 28th deadline for reaching the debt ceiling. So we'll have you back as the negotiations continue, to see how things are playing out. Thanks again for joining us. Again, this is another edition of MNI TV, and I'm Heather Scott, the MNI Washington Bureau Chief. Thanks for joining us.